There's a reason why the chase has always been more exciting than the catch. Men aren't wired to be turned on by full access. They're driven by what they can't quite have yet. The moment you become a little less predictable, a little harder to read, something changes in the way he sees you. That mystery? It makes his imagination do the heavy lifting. It's not about playing games, it's about not giving him every detail of your inner world too soon. When you leave something to the imagination, you give him space to wonder, to fantasize, to lean in closer instead of pulling away. Think about it. What's more addictive than someone you can't completely figure out? It's not about being distant, it's about having depth he hasn't fully unlocked yet. That's what keeps him craving. And if you think that's powerful, wait until you understand how teasing without giving in drives his desire through the roof. Let's be real, most people think intimacy gets hotter the more you reveal. But the real secret? It's actually the opposite. Desire isn't just about physical closeness, it's about psychological space. It's built in the in-between moments, the things left unsaid, the parts of you that are held just out of reach. Men are visual, yes, but they're also deeply driven by curiosity. When a woman reveals everything too quickly, her thoughts, her past, her emotional availability, or her physical intentions, it might feel like connection in the moment, but it removes the sense of discovery. And for many men, discovery is the thrill. It's not about withholding love or playing cold. It's about being multi-layered, someone he wants to keep exploring. It's about the tiny pauses, the thoughtful glances, the stories you hint at but don't fully unpack right away, those details that stay tucked away just a little bit longer. That's what drives him crazy. Think of it like this. When you hand someone a gift without wrapping paper, there's no suspense. But when it's wrapped, unexpected, and beautifully presented, it builds anticipation. The same is true for intimacy. A woman who reveals herself in pieces, at her own pace, makes a man feel like he's on a journey, not just handed a destination. Mystery doesn't mean being secretive or manipulative. It's about owning your presence in a way that doesn't need to explain itself. It's when you can sit in silence and still hold his attention. It's when you smile at his question and say, "Maybe I'll tell you later," instead of rushing to share everything. That pause makes him lean forward. That moment of wonder makes him crave more. In fact, psychologists have found that anticipation creates more dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical, than the reward itself. So when you leave just a little space for him to wonder, to guess, to imagine, you're actually heightening his excitement far more than any bold move ever could. Men remember the women who made them feel something they couldn't quite explain, the ones they couldn't fully solve, because that's what made it exciting. That's what made it unforgettable. And if mystery is what opens the door to craving, then teasing is what turns up the heat. Here's something most people don't realize. Men crave the build-up far more than the obvious green light. The most unforgettable moments of intimacy aren't when everything is laid out plainly. They're when tension hangs in the air, unspoken but felt deeply. That's where teasing comes in. Not the shallow kind, but the playful, confident energy that says, "I know what you want, and I might give it to you, but not yet." Playful teasing is like emotional foreplay. It builds anticipation, sparks desire, and most importantly, keeps him coming back. When a woman playfully flirts, drops a subtle innuendo, or responds with a smirk instead of a straight answer, she's not confusing him, she's challenging him. And challenge, when done right, doesn't push a man away, it pulls him in. Teasing isn't about being mean or manipulative, it's about showing that you're not in a rush to seal the deal. You're enjoying the dance just as much as he is. And when you make it clear that you're not afraid to be playful, it tells him you're confident, in control, and fully owning your sensuality. That's powerful. Let's break it down. Imagine this. Instead of giving him a direct compliment, you raise an eyebrow and say, "That shirt almost makes you look dangerous." Instead of agreeing to plans right away, you say, convince me. These little games aren't to make him work harder, they're to make him feel something deeper. Desire thrives in contrast. When he can't predict your next move, when he has to lean in a little closer just to figure you out, that's when you become unforgettable. And here's the twist. It's not even about what you say, it's about how you say it. The tone, the pause, the look in your eyes, that's where the real teasing happens. A softly spoken "you wish" can hit harder than the most revealing outfit. It's the implied that turns into obsession. Men may say they want things straightforward, but in intimacy they're wired to crave the chase, the tension, the almost. Give him that through subtle, playful energy, and you'll stay on his mind long after the moment ends. But playful teasing is just the beginning, because what really throws his mind into overdrive is when you start doing the unexpected. Nothing keeps desire alive like unpredictability. When a woman does the unexpected, she breaks the pattern, and in doing so, she becomes unforgettable. Because here's the truth most people overlook. Routine kills attraction. When a man can predict how every conversation, every move, and every moment will unfold, his interest starts to fade, even if he still cares. But throw in a little unpredictability, suddenly he's hooked again, leaning forward, wondering what just happened and what's coming next. The unexpected doesn't have to be dramatic or loud. In fact, it's the subtle moments that hit the hardest. It's when the quiet, sweet woman suddenly becomes bold and whispers something daring in his ear. It's when she who usually lets him lead decides just once to take control, or when she pulls back, not to punish him, but because she's choosing her own space. These surprises make him see her in a new light, and that newness reignites his craving. Men don't want constant chaos, but they are wired to respond to novelty. Psychologically, the brain releases more dopamine, the feel-good chemical, when we experience something new. So when you show him a side of yourself he hasn't seen before, even if it's small, it lights him up. It shakes him out of autopilot and pulls him back into the moment with you. This could be as simple as changing your tone mid-conversation, making a bold, unexpected move, or introducing a new idea that catches him off guard. In a good way. It's the thrill of, wait, where did that come from? That's what makes a woman feel magnetic, like there's always more to discover. And let's be honest, everyone talks about being real in relationships. But real doesn't mean predictable. Real means layered. You can be soft and strong, innocent and seductive, thoughtful and a little dangerous. The moment he thinks he's figured you out, surprise him. Not to confuse him, but to remind him, you're not one-dimensional. You're not here to be placed in a box. Because the more he sees you as someone who can still surprise him, the more alive his desire becomes. And just when he thinks he knows what's next, that's your chance to take things even deeper. But here's the real twist, because sometimes what you don't say hits harder than anything you could say. Here's where most people get it completely wrong. They think being bold and explicit is what makes sex exciting. But often, the opposite is true. The most powerful tool in seduction isn't action, it's suggestion. And when a woman learns how to use this artfully, she becomes absolutely unforgettable. Why? Because what's implied lingers longer in the mind than what's made obvious. Think about it, our imagination is far more powerful than reality. When you say something without saying it, when you hint instead of declare, you're not just getting his attention, you're letting his mind do the rest. That quiet pause, that half smile, that maybe later instead of a direct yes, those are the moments that make his heartbeat quicken. Because now he's involved. He's curious. He's wondering what you meant, what's coming next, and how to get closer. Men often replay these subtle moments over and over in their minds. Not because you did something outrageous, but because you didn't. Because you left just enough on the table for him to fill in the blanks. That space you create, it becomes an invitation to chase, to think, to feel more deeply than he realizes. And suggestion isn't just about words, it's in the way you touch his arm and then pull away. It's the look you give across the room that says, "I know something you don't." It's the late night text that says, "I had a thought about you, but I'll tell you tomorrow." That's where the real intimacy lives, not in laying everything out, but in letting him experience the possibility of more. Even neuroscience backs this up. Anticipation, not the moment itself, is what triggers the biggest spikes of dopamine in the brain. That means the waiting, the wondering, the not knowing. It all makes desire stronger. So, when you learn to play in the shadows of suggestion, you're not being coy. You're building a fire that burns longer. Remember, men don't talk about the most revealing women they've been with. They talk about the ones who made them feel something they couldn't put into words. The ones who didn't need to try too hard because their silence said enough. And once you master the power of suggestion, there's one more shift that changes the game completely: setting boundaries. Not walls, not coldness, just the kind of boundaries that make him realize he's not in control of this. It might sound counterintuitive, but the more a woman holds her boundaries, the more a man desires her. Why? Because boundaries don't push him away, they make him lean in. In fact, the moment a woman shows that she won't tolerate certain behavior, that she respects herself above all, something powerful happens. She becomes high value in his eyes. And when a man sees a woman as high value, he doesn't just want her, he wants to earn her. Many women have been conditioned to believe that saying no, having standards, or pulling back might scare a man off. But here's the truth: the right man isn't scared by boundaries, he's ignited by them. Because when a woman draws a line and means it, she sends a clear signal that she won't settle, that she's not desperate, that her attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. And nothing stirs craving in a man more than realizing he can't have full access to you just because he wants it. Boundaries create a sense of scarcity. Your time, your body, your energy, your heart. That scarcity breeds value, and value breeds desire. Here's what most people miss. Boundaries aren't about rejection, they're about direction. You're guiding him on how to treat you, how to approach you, and how to earn intimacy. You're not closing the door, you're letting him know there's a lock. And if he wants in, he'll need the right key, whether it's not texting back immediately, saying no to a last-minute plan, or holding back from physical intimacy until the emotional connection is real. Each decision teaches him something. You won't be rushed, and you won't be played. And that quiet self-respect, it hits harder than any physical move ever could. In a world where attention is given too easily, boundaries are rare, and rarity creates obsession. A man will chase what feels just out of reach, not because it's a game, but because it feels worth the chase. He'll remember the woman who made him rise to meet her level, who didn't bend for approval, who didn't beg for closeness. And when he finally gets close, really close, it means something, because he knows you don't offer that connection to just anyone. But here's the part that truly flips the script, because once he realizes your worth, what keeps him addicted isn't just your mystery or your teasing, it's the confidence with which you own every part of yourself. Here's a truth most people avoid because it sounds too risky. Saying no can be far more seductive than saying yes. Why? Because boundaries, when held with quiet confidence, don't push a man away. They pull him closer, not because he wants to be rejected, but because deep down, men crave the experience of earning a woman who respects herself. When you set boundaries, you're not creating distance, you're creating value. The truth is, what's easily available rarely gets cherished. It's human nature. But the woman who makes a man slow down, who doesn't jump at every invitation, who expects intentional energy instead of empty promises, that woman isn't forgotten. She's studied, pursued, and craved. Think about it. When you tell a man, "I need more than last-minute plans," or "I won't rush something meaningful," you're not being difficult. You're defining your standards. And when done without anger or drama, just calm, clear self-respect, it lands harder than any seductive move ever could. Because suddenly, he realizes you're not seeking approval, you're not available just because he's interested, you've built a life you value, and you're not bending that life just to keep someone around. That's powerful. And it triggers a different kind of desire, the kind that makes him reflect, adjust, and step up. Boundaries also send a deeper message, that intimacy with you is earned. Not bought, not manipulated, not fast-tracked, earned. And when he earns it, it means something. It sticks with him. Let's be honest. Most women today are told to be easygoing and not scare him off. But here's the reality. Men respect the women who hold their space, because they know deep down that the ones who won't tolerate disrespect are the ones truly worth showing up for. The ones who know their worth and don't apologize for it. What makes a man crave a woman isn't how available she is, it's how anchored she is, in her values, her energy, her time. When she doesn't hand over those things lightly, he feels the weight of what she is offering, and that makes all the difference. But boundaries aren't the end of the story. They're just the setup, because what truly tips the scale from attraction to obsession is when that same woman owns her desires with unshakable confidence. Here's the twist no one tells you. Kinkiness isn't about how wild you are in the bedroom. It's not about whips, toys, or some risque secret move. The real kink? It's confidence. The kind of deep, grounded self-assurance that radiates from a woman who's completely at ease with her body, her boundaries, and her desires. You see, men don't obsess over women who just do more. They crave the ones who own every little thing they do. A woman who looks him in the eye without flinching, who walks into a room like she knows she belongs there, who expresses what she wants, not to please him, but because she's comfortable with her own pleasure. That kind of presence, that's what makes her unforgettable. Confidence isn't about being loud or dominating. It's about being unapologetically you. It's when a woman says, "This is what I like," without checking for approval. It's when she doesn't shrink or giggle awkwardly when things get intense. It's when she makes the first move, not because she has to, but because she wants to, and isn't afraid to take up space. And here's what most people get wrong. Being kinky doesn't mean pushing past your comfort zone just to impress someone. True confidence means knowing exactly what turns you on and what doesn't, and refusing to perform. When a man sees that you're not faking confidence or putting on a show, but truly grounded in who you are, it hits different. He doesn't just enjoy being with you, he's drawn to you completely. The woman who's remembered isn't necessarily the one who was the most adventurous. It's the one who knew how to enjoy herself fully, who didn't seek permission, who didn't second-guess her instincts. Confidence in the bedroom isn't about perfection. It's about being fully present, fully alive, and fully real. That's what creates chemistry that lingers in his mind long after. Because here's the truth. Men don't fantasize about flawless women. They fantasize about the ones who made them feel something intense. And nothing hits harder than being with someone who's not performing, not pretending, but fully present and lit up from the inside out. Confidence is magnetic. Confidence is rare. And when it meets a little mystery, a little playfulness, and strong boundaries, it becomes addictive. Confidence is addictive, and if you're wondering how deeply this kind of energy stays with him, just wait until you hear the one thing he'll always remember about you. When men talk about the women they can't forget, they rarely describe a specific act or moment. It's not about the lingerie, the location, or how wild things got. What he remembers, and what he tells his closest friends about, is how she made him feel. That emotional imprint, that deep stir in his nervous system, that's what lingers long after the physical details fade. Here's what most people miss. What stays with a man isn't the most explicit part of the night, it's the unexpected way she showed up. It's the woman who felt playful and mysterious, confident yet warm, powerful but feminine. It's the moment she leaned in with that look in her eye, like she knew exactly what she was doing, not just to his body, but to his mind. That psychological and emotional pull, that's what gets etched into his memory. When a man's in the middle of locker room talk, the truth is, the loudest stories don't always impress. But the woman he can't joke about, the one he gets quiet over, the one he pauses for and says, man, she was different. That's the woman who made a real impact. She wasn't trying to prove anything. She didn't give everything away. She had depth, she had presence, and she had the kind of self-respect that made him rise up just to stay near her. And maybe he'll never say it out loud, but the woman he remembers is the one who didn't just touch his body. She stirred something in his spirit. She was real, emotionally intelligent and confident in her sensuality without needing it to define her. She wasn't trying to be memorable. She just was. He won't remember the exact words she said. He'll remember how time slowed down when she whispered them. He'll remember how she laughed without needing validation. How she didn't chase, didn't compete, didn't perform. She made intimacy feel like an invitation, not a transaction. That's rare. That's powerful. And that's what becomes a story he carries with him, not just for days or weeks, but years. Because when a woman knows how to combine mystery, confidence, playfulness, and grace, she's not just a partner, she becomes a standard, a reference point, a memory that no one else can quite replace. And here's the final truth. What made her unforgettable wasn't about what she did, it was about who she was being the entire time. So what's the real secret that makes him crave kinkier sex? It's not the outfit, it's not the technique, it's not even what you do behind closed doors. It's who you are, how you carry yourself, how you protect your energy, how you invite him into your world without ever needing to hand over control. It's the emotional layers, the subtle power in mystery, the confidence that isn't loud but undeniable. It's your ability to tease without giving everything away, to say less and mean more, to keep him guessing, not because you're playing games, but because you're living fully in your feminine strength. A woman who creates that kind of presence doesn't just arouse him, she awakens something in him. She becomes more than a moment, she becomes a feeling he can't shake off. And what men truly crave, more than anything physical, is that kind of feeling. That rush of unpredictability mixed with emotional safety, that rare energy that says, I'm not here to impress you, I'm here to enjoy me. If you're lucky, you can join. That's the woman who makes intimacy feel electric, even without doing anything extreme. Because when you bring your full self, your boundaries, your confidence, your curiosity into the experience, everything becomes heightened. The energy, the looks, the words left hanging in the air. That's what makes it unforgettable. And yes, he might talk about the things you did. He might replay those moments over and over. But what will stay with him is the energy behind them. The woman who wasn't afraid to own her desires, to walk away from disrespect, to light up a room without even trying. That woman becomes his craving, not just for one night, but long after. So if you're wondering how to spark kinkier, more magnetic intimacy, don't start with what you do. Start with how you see yourself. Start with the way you show up when no one's watching. Because when you live in your power, men don't just want to be with you, they want to earn you. Over and over again. And maybe that's the real secret. The sexiest thing a woman can bring to the bedroom is everything she's already owning outside of it.